everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for another Scientist Spotlight. Today we have Joelle, who is a marine biologist who works with whales and research and conservation, as well as a project director for the cetacean conservation in Nicaragua. Lastly, she is also a PhD candidate for University of Brussels. So thank you so much for being here, Joelle. Would you mind sharing a little bit about your background, what you do, and how you got there?
Hi, Brooke. Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm really, really happy to participate to this amazing project you have together with Lauren and your team. So as you said, and you introduced me properly, I'm a marine biologist. I got my master's degree at the University of Brussels with the idea to study whales in the future. So that was my dream since I am a child, basically. I always wanted to do that. So I didn't study marine biology as such. I have a master's degree in biodiversity and ecosystems. So I'm just mentioning that for those people who are maybe stressing out that they didn't study marine biology specifically. The most important is that, science is not that much about marine or not. It's just a research question. You have to answer it. And so if you have a master's degree in biology, I believe it's sufficient to go ahead in that career. And after I got my master's degree, I volunteered for a bunch of nonprofit organizations. So I went to Madagascar to study humpback whales. I did the same in Mexico. And then I studied also bottlenose dolphins in Slovenia, in France, in Wales, in Great Britain. So I got quite a few experiences. And after all those experiences, I decided to start my own project, because through those experiences, I really gained experience in, scientific research on one side, but also environmental education with local communities. And I really found it interesting to combine both topics, because some nonprofits were doing or only research or only education to the environment, public awareness, So I was thinking that all those things should be combined, and that's why also we have the motto of science for a purpose. So I was finding myself on a conference, and I was observing all the scientists saying, oh, it's terrible, we have to save what we have and we have to preserve what we have. And I was like, we are actually raising awareness among a community that already knows all that. And that's why just doing science for scientists, I didn't see really the point. So I really want to do science for a purpose. So generating knowledge through a scientific program is essential and crucial in my point of view. And this specific knowledge should be shared to the general public. So that's why I have a scientific program combined with an education program that leads to the conservation program. Of course, I'm working also with institutions like national institutions here in Nicaragua to make conservation possible in the future. So I just said it, I started the project in Nicaragua with my own nonprofit. So that's how it all started. Why Nicaragua? Because it's a country where humpback whales are coming and no one was basically doing research there. So I just decided to study whales here, but I have an interest in all cetacean species. So I just called it the Cetacean Conservation Project of Nicaragua. So I'm gathering baseline data on all the cetaceans I can encounter. So I've been doing this for the last 5 years, specifically between January and April, because that's the breeding season for the humpback whales here in Central America. So yeah, I think that's it. That's a good introduction, I believe.
Thank you. Well, that's amazing. So we always ask people why they got into marine mammals outside of all of the other aquatic animals out there, or even terrestrial animals. So what was your story?
So my story was that when I was a child, I was, at school and listening to those lectures given by my colleagues. You had to choose like a topic about anything you wanted to talk about, an animal. And someone talked about the killer whale, and I found it like very fascinating. And then I just started reading books, those books about marine mammal descriptions. I was reading a lot. And I just even made a phylogenetic tree in my room. So I was really into whales and dolphins, but not just like having the nice poster in my room. I was really triggered by all the unknown things, and I really wanted to know more, actually. So that was really since almost forever I wanted to do that, and it was growing. Initially, I wanted to become a vet for cetaceans. That's actually the little funny story. But then I discovered I had to go to the States, and it would cost a lot of money. It was like 6 years of study, and I was like, no, I won't ask my parents to pay that much money for that. And then I was also a bit scared of autopsy, so I was like, I don't want to see those dead animals and all the blood. So I was like, maybe I should go another direction. And then I found biology. Biology was a good compromise.
Fair enough. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. Well, you mentioned that you started a nonprofit in Nicaragua, and I understand why you chose that area. But can you tell us a little bit about the process of how you decided to create this nonprofit, and like what hardships did you have during that, and what successes have you seen with that nonprofit since you started it?
So the reason why I created a nonprofit is that so as I said, nothing was done here in Nicaragua. So there is not really like a nonprofit that I could really join to do this. Like literally no one did something about marine mammals here. Like there were some small initiatives, but it was just like very like limited in time. They're not doing it consistently. So that was a bit lacking here. And what I want to do is keeping this going as long as we can. So that's why I started this project here in Nicaragua. But what I would actually say, honestly, when I'm thinking back, I'm like, I didn't have the need to create a nonprofit. That's because really there was nothing. That's why I created this project. If there was a nonprofit, I think I would join, because joining like initiatives, joining everyone, energy, passion makes the thing stronger. And it brings you, like there is a saying, I don't know if you say that in English too, but in French they say like, alone you go fast, but together you go further. So that saying is really true. So you can go ahead alone, that's okay. But if you're more people passionate about the ocean and the whales, if you can join in if you have the same concept, same philosophy, I would really recommend try to find your way in an already running project, because it's a lot of work. I do everything in this nonprofit. I'm doing everything from the websites, the social media, the accountancy, the grant application, writing peer review papers, doing the follow-up because we're selling bracelets. I'm doing all the orders. I mean, it's just, and I have the help of some volunteers, but I do most of the work. So if you have already like a team that's functioning, I would recommend that you go with them, because it's really a lot of work. Because also if you start a nonprofit organization, you need a board of directors. So you need a president, a secretary, a treasurer. So you need someone that really likes marine mammals and that wants to invest that time for you. So the more you multiply the initiatives, well, the more you have to find people and convince people in your surrounding to be volunteer. And so that's my experience. I find it more logical to have like people joining one concept if they align with that concept, and to expand it. That is one of my experiences, but because it takes really a lot of time. And like I had a friend recently that said, you have like 3 or 4 jobs at the same time. It's just crazy how much I have to do. So I must admit that the struggle in the beginning was really related to that I was overwhelmed. I was really stressed out. I didn't know how to do the things because you have only 24 hours in a day. And so that was really one of the struggles, was to manage the project, manage tasks. And now it's going better. I got a bit depressed sometime, but I went through it, and I'm trying to hold on. But I know I am a very determined person. So that's a one characteristic of my personality. But I think that someone that didn't have that determination or motivation might have stopped. In addition, Nicaragua is a very challenging country, very, very challenging. I got that comment from many people, like, you managed to do something in Nicaragua. That's not easy. From even the International Whaling Commission, you know, they were like, you're doing something in Nicaragua? Oh, that's interesting. I don't know how you did that. So in addition of, you know, all that aspect of nonprofit and project management and everything, you have that aspect of, you know, the country that is really, really different from our culture. So that was another struggle and challenge, to understand how people are functioning, because they have other ideas, other way of communicating, other ways of perceiving things. And then when you don't know that, then it's sometimes you can, you know, hurt people without knowing it, or saying something that you were not supposed to say, you know. So those were struggles that I encountered here, in Nicaragua specifically, and with the nonprofit.
Yeah, I'm sure our executive director would feel very similar to how you feel. We came out here and saw that there was nothing, right? She probably would have loved to just join in with some other group just like you. But when there's nothing and you see a need, it's great that you have the personality and the passion and the tenacity to keep with it and to push through, because you're probably bettering that community, I would assume. So thank you for what you're doing. Have you seen a big difference in the community that you live in since the beginning of the start of the nonprofit to today?
Well, it was in the education program, we're giving workshops to the kids, and the kids are really responding positively, in the sense that, first of all, we give environmental science classes over a whole semester. So we have them twice a week in the class, so we can really do like a deep work with them, you know, about the environment. So we had our teacher that got messages from the kids, saying, like, because recently here in Nicaragua, they're really unlucky, because they got like civil unrest, and then there was the hurricane, there is the corona, and so they're really having a tough time. But anyway, with the hurricane, there was a lot of, like in the Caribbean, that was really strong, and a lot of people lost their houses, their stuff. It was yeah, the impact was really, really strong. And so the kids saw that, and they were like, oh, that's the climate change, and that's terrible. We have to change. We have to do something. So I'm like, at least they're starting, you know, to process all the information, and they realize that climate change is existing, and that they should do something. So if from the children are already saying that, for me, it's like, that's rewarding, because that's exactly what we want to do, is change their vision and their perception of the environment. So that's something I saw. We have also a citizen science project where the fishermen are like sharing their observations with us, and you know, they're saying when they have whales, and they're communicating with us. So I feel that there is more involvement on that side. And also I'm working also with the mayor's office, and they're also helping when we do the neighborhood cleanings. They come to pick up the trash. And I had discussions also on how we can improve, you know, the trash when they're like in the weekend, people come here and they throw everything on the beaches, and how, I mean, I have to congratulate them, because on New Year, it was like the next day, the beach was full of trash. I made a picture, and they came cleaning, you know, so they cleaned the whole beach. And so they, you know, little by little, I don't say it's me, I didn't do that personally. I think it's like because of different nonprofits probably pressuring and saying, hey, you have to clean the beach, and they're starting doing it. But I guess I hope I got my little contribution to that. So yeah, and I'm getting also all those contacts with those national institutions, so that are stable and positive. So I hope it's a slow process of making changes in their minds, but I hope that in the future the impact will be even bigger. Yeah. But to answer a short answer, yeah, I start to see that there is some impact.
That's great. That's wonderful. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it is a really hard battle, as we talked about before we started recording. Yeah. A lot of people don't care, or they've been living life a certain way for so long. It is very hard to change that mindset. And so even if you see a little bit of change, that I feel like that is just so rewarding. And to start with the kids who are our future, I feel like the moment you get the kids involved, the parents start to listen, because when their kids excited about something and like quite literally won't stop talking about something, then it forces the parents to listen, and they're our voters, right? So that's amazing. Thanks so much for doing that. That's great. I'm so glad to see that you have seen a difference, because sometimes that is a really hard battle.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would like to have more like impact, but it's a slow process. So we have to be patient about it and keep on reaching out, and then we see what happens.
Right. So education is not all that you do, right? You're working on certain research projects. You've been on a boat a lot lately. Can you tell us a little bit about what you are currently working on?
Yeah, so the Cetacean Conservation Project aims to gather baseline information about all the whale and dolphin species I can encounter. And actually, I'm also taking some data on turtles and marine birds, but I just feel like it's so much effort to go on the boat, so just take as much data as you can.
Yeah.
I have, of course, a research permit from a government to do that, right? So, so even for the birds and the turtles, so that's not a problem. So the Cetacean Conservation Project, the aim is to gather baseline information on whales and dolphins, so understand which species occur here, where they occur, what are they doing here, the habitat use patterns, which is already like a lot. If you're a scientist or biologist, then you know that these are like huge objectives. In addition, if you do that for all the species. So now I have like a lot of data to work on. And I'm actually using that data that I collected for my PhD, which is on the ecology of humpback whales, where I'm actually studying the cetaceans and specifically humpback whales. So the idea of the PhD is to understand the population size, so of humpback whales coming here to breed in Nicaragua. I have discovered that they are actually also feeding here. You have to know that humpback whales is a migratory species, and they are normally splitting their activities between, so they're moving between feeding areas and breeding areas. So supposedly they're not breeding in feeding areas, and they're not feeding in breeding areas. But in this case, I have discovered that in Nicaragua, apparently they have feeding behaviors on a yearly basis. And that might be related to the presence of upwelling and like the Costa Rica dome that comes with the season between January and April. And that might promote feeding behaviors amongst humpback whales. So my PhD is about that partially, but what I didn't mention is that I did the project actually on 2 study sites. So yeah, I gotta be crazy when I designed the project, but anyway. So I have data, 3 years of data on 2 study sites, and in my PhD, I'm comparing both sites, and it's really interesting because on one side there is feeding, on the other one there is not, and on one side there are more mother calvers, and the other one not. So it's really really fascinating to see the difference between the sites. You know, if the 2 sites were the same, you're like boring, but in this case I really have like so much to study. So that's in a nutshell what I'm doing. And I forgot, I'm looking to migratory destinations, of course, of humpback whales, where they are going to feed, and that's also part of my PhD.
Well, that sounds very interesting. So what are some of the differences you've seen with Site 1 and Site 2? Are there different behaviors taking place?
Yeah, so the northern site is located in the natural reserve of Padre Ramos, which is located in the department of Chinandega, just in case someone knows Nicaragua a bit, but it's actually really at the extreme part of the northern part of Nicaragua, located at the Pacific Ocean. And then the other side is at the other extreme, located near Costa Rica in San Juan del Sur in the department of Rivas. And the difference, well, apparently the waters in the northern part are less deep than here in San Juan. So I'm located now in the southern side. Since last year, I just decided to focus on one side because I realized that it was so much work, and maybe that focusing on one side would be a good investment of energy. So I want to develop this site and then maybe one day open the other one again. So it seems that the northern side would be maybe more calving area, and here would be more a breeding area. but for adults that are also feeding. So I don't know exactly like the right answer, but I really see there's a lot of things, even with the birds, even with the turtles, even with the dolphins, there's something happening here. Like in the southern side, there are bigger groups of dolphins, there are much more birds feeding. So we have like multi-species interactions between whales, dolphins, birds. Turtles are not there, but still I have like a master thesis student working on turtle distribution outside of the breeding season, since turtles are also migratory and they're also doing that concept of feeding behaviors, feeding sites and separating with the breeding site. We see that there are still turtles around and they're not supposed to be here anymore. So I found it really interesting. I was like, what are those turtles doing here? So there is like a lot of things happening in the southern sides. I'm not gonna say that the northern side is boring, but there's more action here for sure. Less mother-calf pairs. Yeah, so basically the habitat use patterns are slightly different.
Very cool. Well, best of luck with that research and sorting through all that data. I hope you find some really interesting things that you can share with all of us, because we still have so much to learn about humpbacks.
Yes.
Well, very cool. So another question I really like to ask, and you kind of mentioned a little bit about this in your experience running a nonprofit, but what struggles have you experienced in your field of study?
Yeah, as I said, I think that there are a lot of things like grant writing that's really difficult. It takes so much time to understand how to write the things, and you have to try out. And I got a lot of, like in 2017, I think I applied to a bunch of grants and I got like maybe one, which is great, right? I'm not complaining, but I was like, you get depressed out of it. You can do that literally full time and then you don't receive anything, but at the end when you receive something, then you're really, really happy. So the grant writing is a process, and I think that, you know, at the end, when I'm looking back to my my master degree, they don't teach us to write grants, and I think that should be part of our training too. Anyway, that's between brackets. Then, so the grant writing, as I said, also the cultural experience, since it's not, I'm from Europe, and the mentalities are different. So yeah, like there are some details, like for example, people are never yelling, like or not even yelling, but not, you know, when you're a bit upset or you get emotional, you might talk a little bit louder. Well, here they don't have that, and they find it really rude if you do so. You know, if you're annoyed about something, that you're like talking. Yeah. So if you don't know that, then you're like, and you're rude without wanting it, because in my country, it's kind of can be perceived as being rude, but I mean, they're very sensitive here about it. So, you know, you have to learn this kind of things, and then it's a bit trial and error, I guess. We all make mistakes anyway, all the time, so it's okay. As long as you try to improve, that's the most important, I guess. But and yeah, showing who you are, because I had a big struggle when I arrived, that I collaborated with an institution, and I don't know, they kind of, yeah, they showed that they were helping, but they were actually not. So that was another problem to deal with, jealousy, or that they were envious about the project. I don't know why, because I was including them as collaborators, so I didn't get the point. But anyway, so that was also a struggle more in the field. And then, yeah, for myself, I mean, I was experienced, but I was always going with a leader. So leading the project was also for me a big challenge, and managing people. I had like a bunch of research assistants that came with me internationally that participated to the project. And at the end, I ended up giving like a training program in the field. So if people want to get experience and know what it is to be marine mammal biologist, they can come for at least 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months to do the training with me. And then I had a bunch of people, or they were passionate about whales, or they were just passionate about the ocean, people with a background in chemistry, biology, whatever, but it was scientists with a scientific background. They joined me, and but that was difficult for me because you have to realize that everyone has his own values, his own world, his own thoughts, and that as a project manager and leader, it's really difficult because I like that everyone is feeling happy and feeling comfortable, and it's a lifetime experience. But yeah, that's quite challenging to manage people, like manage a group and see that everything's going smoothly, and managing at the same time all the other activities. That's quite a challenge.
Yeah, very challenging. Well,
And I hate accountancy. I just want to let everyone know that I really don't like it. So I think if I can skip one activity of the whole package, that would be that one.
Well, what is your favorite part about your job? Do you like the field work or the education more?
Well, it's tricky because I have a lot of satisfaction that are really different. But yeah, so as a whale scientist, we were looking for the tail of the whale. So whenever I have a fluke, I'm like, it's really exciting because you need to have that fluke because that's like the currency for us. But yeah, so I'm really excited when I'm in the field because you don't know what's going to happen. Maybe you won't see anything. Maybe you will see 20 whales, maybe you don't know, and maybe you will see feeding, maybe you will see breeding, maybe a baby, you don't know, and that's the exciting part of it. And that quest for the fluke is also cool. But the field work, being on a boat, many people like that, like that's a bit for me standard, like who doesn't like to go on the boat and see whales? I mean, that's also a challenge I have because many people say, I want to become a marine biologist. And I'm like, yeah, but marine biology is not just being on the boat and taking nice pictures of whales. It's so much more than that. And you have to answer research questions, and you have to apply, like doing the data analysis using statistics and blah, 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 all that stuff. So, and then when you say there's a lot of computer work, then people are like, oh yeah, well, maybe that's not something for me. So that's also the whole point of the training I'm offering, is that people realize that it's just, okay, I have fieldwork, but you're also working on the computer, and that you need to solve that research question. That's the whole point of being biologist. So that's, I think sometimes it's mistaken. But just to come back to your initial question, what I like is when I see the results, when I see like the final, that I find it really exciting. I really like to write papers and making the results and see, oh, I did this and that, and then see the tendency, what you saw in the field, and that you actually see it on your screen thanks to which program you used. That is my satisfaction. I really love that. I love it. I really love to do the research. I love it not when I have to do all the corrections, all the I don't know if you wrote already peer-reviewed papers, but it's just like version 42. I have to make all those modifications. So that's maybe the thing I don't like that much about it. But yeah.
Yeah. When I talk to folks that I just meet in the field, and they're like, oh, I always wanted to be a marine biologist. It sounded so fun. Like, I really wish I would have studied it. And I'm like, yeah, it is fun. And I love my job, but there's a lot of stuff that, there's writing, there's math, there's science. It's like every single thing, every concept you can think of, we're using, history and public engagement. And you kind of have to dabble in all of those fields, and it can be really uncomfortable and hard because it takes a long time to see those results sometimes. So yeah, I don't know, props to you. I love it too, but it is hard.
yeah, the other challenge, I think, like, just because you make me think of that now, the other challenge is the money. Like, because doing whale research, it's not like even studying, I don't know, monkeys. You know, with a monkey, you just go in the wood and you don't have that much cost. But here, like the boat, it's incredible because compared to the price and how, like I said out before we started recording, I told you that Nicaragua was a cheap country, but when it comes to boat rental, it's really expensive. And I'm like, it's really weird. It's like, so yeah, it's a paradox. I don't get it really, but anyway, that's how it is. And so whale research is expensive, and that's sometimes something that people maybe don't really realize, that, yeah, you know, the fuel, boat rental, paying the captain, that has a cost. And for the 5 past years, I've been just like collecting money to pay the boat, basically. And then, you know, that was what I was doing, because the boat is like a big amount of my money, of the money needed for the research. So I think that's a difference, I think, with other research projects. I believe that makes it even harder is the costs of the field work.
Yeah, we need more funding for sciences. So folks watching, if you guys want to donate to the cetacean conservation group in Nicaragua, please do, because this work is really, really important.
Thank you. That's really nice.
So there are a lot of people out there who might be like us, who are women in science, who are wanting to one day be in your shoes. What are some of the pieces of advice that you would give these types of people?
The first advice would be just really make sure that that's your passion. I mean, if it's just like, I really like whales, or if it's like, oh my God, I really want to make a difference, I think that you should make that difference for you. And I would recommend, and I think most of the people recommend that, but go in the field with an organization, try to get your experience and just to feel how it is in the field. The field, of course, is not the main part, but it's part of it. And I mean, for example, if you're seasick or I don't know, if you don't enjoy it. I have interns that told me, like, I actually do not enjoy it that much. So because they prefer to dive, for example, rather than being on the boat. That's a personal experience, right? So I would say go in the field, try to experience it. And, you know, many people like to travel to do this kind of experience, but I feel that sometimes just try to find something close to your home so you don't have that much expenses in travel and accommodation and food and all those things. Because sometimes I feel like people are looking for that experience like abroad. Of course, it's an amazing life experience. I'm not saying it's not good, but if you want to just get involved with a local nonprofit, that I think that's also very, very positive. But for the woman, yeah, it's be determined, don't give up. Sometimes you feel alone, you know. I feel sometimes alone, so you just have to keep going ahead, thinking of all those people that said you're doing a good job, and just go further. And I got actually at the beginning, when I was hesitating to do this, you know, I was determined, but also, of course, everyone has his doubts, and it's mainly the woman scientists that were encouraging me to go forward. They were saying, no, Joelle, go ahead. If that's what you want to do, just do it. You will see it's going to work. And yeah, the woman encouraging other women is really important. Although between us, whale research, there's a lot of women. And weirdly, when you go on conferences, you see a lot of male scientists, you know, like for senior scientists, I see a lot of men. If you see on the big labs, there's not a lot of women. So in the volunteers and people willing to give their time and participate, there's a lot of women. But then in the end, as settled scientists, I don't see many. I don't know, maybe they're not coming to the conference. That might be an option too. But the woman that wants to do science is just go ahead, don't give up. It's possible. It's possible. But you have to invest quite some energy. But if you have the passion, that's the fuel.
Absolutely. Well said. Well, those are all my questions. Did you have anything else you want to share? You could talk about the different awards you have or any of those things.
Yeah, so recently I received an award from the Jane Goodall Institute, so I'm really, really, really happy. So yeah, I got that award. They're awarding that for young scientists that have promising research careers. So that's a great honor to receive that award. Well, what I want to share also is that people, they can follow me on the social media. I'm putting really a lot of effort to have all the information out there so that people also know where the donation go, what I'm doing. I really want to be as transparent as possible so that people feel like comfortable in saying like, because I don't know how it is in the States, but in Europe, they feel like, oh yeah, but so many people are asking for donation and we don't know where the money goes. And that's something I really want to avoid, that people think like, what are you doing with the money? So I'm trying to post as much as I can on Facebook, also on Instagram, and I just launched on YouTube my vlogs. So I'm gonna do some vlogging this year. Every Monday I will post a video on my adventure, my journey, so people can actually follow us on our YouTube channel. All those things are for free. You can go ahead, just like, invite all your friends. That's amazing. It doesn't cost anything, only maybe 10 seconds, and it's fast. And then on the other side, if you're like, I want to give money, then you can buy the whale bracelets that my sister is making with so much love. And and yeah, I'm building the web shop for now, so it will be soon online. But that's something they can do. And something, if you say, I am a student, I am broke, I want to give money, I don't know how to do that, you can do that. I even thought about that one. So you can use a search engine called Lilo, and by doing your online searches, you generate drops, and those drops generate money. So it doesn't cost you anything. You can give the drops to my project, and it generates money. So that's a way also to support the project.
All right. Well, that's all I have. Thank you so much for joining me today. Your work sounds amazing. Best of luck to you. I hope you stay encouraged. And thanks just so much for inspiring myself and our community here in the Low Country. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much for the invitation. I'm really happy I can share it. I'm happy that there are people like you also that are passionate. We have to say it because you're in the same boat. So yeah, thank you for doing what you're doing. It's amazing. And I hope that you can keep doing this forever and trying to help others. And that's the whole point. If we have to be positive and helping others and, you know, helping each other to move forward, that I think that's the secret to manage. The final goal is the conservation of whales and dolphins. And I think if we're in the positive mind, we can do it.